Thank you and a very good afternoon. I know this is almost lunchtime, so we don't have as many audience sitting in the room, but I'm sure there are lots of people listening to us in this hall. We're going to try and make this pretty interesting, but I do want to thank Anjali, you, and Amitabh for putting this show. A big round of applause for both Anjali and Amitabh. Beautiful, beautiful venue and great show. We are here this afternoon in the backdrop of the Indian economy doing pretty well, not the global economy. So Indian economy doing well, consumption, doing exceptionally well. We have a very young India. I was advised a few weeks ago that the average age of an Indian is now 37 years. So it has become pretty young as a population. And the malls continue to do very well. Good malls are 97% leased. If you were to speak with Mr. Don, who's sitting there, Rajendra Kelkar, that's what we nickname him, Pramod. And he'll say it's 99% or maybe 110%. If there is any vacancy, there are probably 5 or 6 guys, waiting to get into the space. The rentals are doing exceptionally well. And hopefully the first REIT listing, should close successfully today, which is of Nexus Select Blackstone. So, we'll see how the results are later this evening as the day sort of progresses. I've got a pretty eclectic panel with me, and I'm going to straight dive into the questions. Abhishek, I'm going to come to you first. There you are. Yes, absolutely. So I just want to start with you to understand is that you've got presence in Tier 1, Tier 2, and your Tier 2 malls are doing exceptionally well. I've had the opportunity of going and visiting, some of those. I just want to understand, does the mix change when you do the malls in a Tier 1 versus Tier 2 as far as the tenants are concerned?
Hi. So, of course, the mix changes from Tier 1 to Tier 2. For example, I'll give the malls that I'm running, for example, in Delhi versus Faridabad versus a Dehradun. So Delhi is, of course, we know metro air, and the kind of tenants we have for Faridabad and for Dehradun somewhat change. So, for example, 10 years ago, we couldn't have imagined doing premium or a little bit premium plus brands in Tier 2 or Tier 3 cities like Dehradun, because they were very skeptical about how the stores will perform, and if it's doing, say, 15 lakhs a month or 12 lakhs a month, it's not so exciting for the brand, because end of the day for them, investment in a store is equal wherever they open, because that's the brand standard. But now when we see the Tier 2 cities, the sales for these brands are going upwards of 25, 30 lakhs a month.
Wow.
And athleisure, for example, is crossing 50 lakhs a month. Now those numbers just change the whole game. We couldn't have thought of it when we opened 10 years ago. But now when we are opening those stores and those stores are doing those numbers, things have changed. I wouldn't say that the mix will today also be similar. Then we have added more premium brands in our Delhi centers, which may take another 5 years to go to those smaller cities. But then it's a cycle, and every 5 years we see that churn.
Abhishek, you're amongst the most realistic developers, I must say. Not even mall developer. I'll say most realistic developers. I had the opportunity of having a conversation with Abhishek. It was sort of COVID time, and you were quite nervous of what was going on. Otherwise, this community is never nervous. They're super optimistic, and rightfully so. You have to be, because if you have to survive within the current environment, you have to be super optimistic. But you were quite cautious at that time. Tell me, over the last sort of 2.5, 3 years, what was going in your mind at that time, and what's going on now with so much euphoria that has come back?
Well, during COVID time, I must tell you, Anuj, was the time we invested the most in our existing centers. Because we got those 30, 45 days when the mall was shut. We changed all those things that seemed impossible to change during a running center. For example, we changed the full flooring of the atrium.
At that time?
At that time.
To spend money at that time?
Because we knew that we couldn't have done it when the mall is operational. How can you imagine changing 30,000 square feet of full flooring of the atrium floor? But we thought of it as an opportunity to upgrade, and we use that opportunity, and it's paying off now. So that's one during COVID. Post-COVID, what we have seen is, of course, the initial 6 to 8 months were kind of picking up. But once it did, there was no looking back. We are now crossing pre-COVID thresholds of trading densities for every category. Every category. And there are some categories which are just much, much beyond that, which means jewelry, which means athleisure, which means F&B, CDIT. All of these categories are full throttle. Casuals, denims, all of those are now beating pre-COVID numbers by a large extent.
And so what has changed, Abhishek? Why?
See, I think one, people kind of realize कि अब पैसे खर्च कर लो. पहले वो थोड़ा सा reserve रहते थे, but after COVID, people kind of started realizing that. Plus, I think it's also the pent-up demand. It's not just for retail. I mean, we also do residential. We all saw that the pent-up demand of the last 3 years, suddenly people had the money because they hadn't spent it, and they wanted to go out and have a good time. And retail is the first, touch point. So I think it just automatically happened.
Rajnish, if I can come to you on in-orbit malls. The topic today is that how do we cater to the next 500 million? And to cater to the next 500 million, we'll need to understand the behavior. What's the change in the behavior that has happened is not only what Abhishek said is on, before COVID to post-COVID, but otherwise as well, generation is becoming younger, behaviors are likely to change. One of the sort of mall developers told me is that he felt is that supermarkets and perhaps multiplexes were going to be, difficult over a period of time to continue in malls. People are quite okay to sort of order, at least in the supermarket side of it is. So my question to you is that given that you were amongst the early entrants in this space, if you have to cater to the next 500 million of population, what are the changes that as mall owners one will need to think?
I think the two changes that comes to my mind very clearly is that, if you see our earlier malls like Malad used to have 76% space allocated to anchors, big boxes.
To anchors.
Big boxes. Hyderabad, when we started, we were like 82%. And when we struggled over the years to keep cutting down the anchor spaces, and we made it now close to 62%. And the one we are designing today, it is biggest in the size of our portfolio, which is 1.2 million square feet. And the anchor space in that size is only 51%. And we are seeing that can we fine tune it down to 48, 49% further down. So big boxes and the other nature of within the big boxes. If you see Malad, the big boxes were occupied by 3 players, Shoppers Stop, Lifestyle, Inox. So a 76% space tied up with the 3 big boxes. So within the big boxes, now the number of players will go up because each retailer is taking lesser space. So that's another structural change, that even if I'm having 50% anchor space, but that anchor space itself for each anchor has come down. And gone are the days when you have a department store starting from ground floor and going all the way to the 4th floor. I think we realized that the anchors do not add too much footfall on the upper floors because the customer circulation is within their store. And hence we need a new anchor at every floor to make the corridors stronger. So that's a design change that is coming into our properties. And to talk about inclusive and next 500 million, I think today if I was to invest money in Malad, I will invest more money in my outdoor areas. The garden that we have, the parking space that we have, to make it more multifunctional, use it for more. So we are using it today, but we have not invested in it. So a small music concert by Shreya Ghoshal, and we got 5,000 people. And we were selling tickets at 4,000 rupees. So never thought that that kind of activities can happen. So these activities, the social spaces that we create around, will bring those 500 million to the mall. And it may start with buying a burger, but it will go into buying an apparel. And thanks to e-commerce, which is penetrating and making people consume branded products through platform at a discount, is encouraging them to then move to the latest fashion at a full price. So they are actually becoming a step for them, for the consumer to enjoy the offline. So if you look at now the 1.2 million square feet, which is getting designed in Vizag, it has around 2.5 acres of garden space on different levels.
Wow.
So investing a lot more in social spaces, along with the upgradation of the look and feel of the mall and the space planning. That's the change.
And Rajnish, it's interesting is, here we're talking about investing and building more and constructing. And, globally, if you were to look at it, more Western countries, more mature markets, mall is a bad word. I don't understand what's this dichotomy. At one stage you take about, physical retail real estate name and people are, no, not at all. And, yet in India, speak with you or any of the panelists who are sitting on here is, and, they'll say is that we're putting in new money in this. So what's that change? Usually Indian economy is sort of coupled with the global economy. So where's that behavior change coming in from?
So the data says very clearly what the story is. Now, if you look at US, we all talk about 28 to 32 square feet of mall space per person living there. The other thing which, and when you talk about malls going down, so each region is facing differently. US is cutting down. Europe is more or less stagnated, very small amount of new construction happening there. Middle East is like building crazy.
Correct. Yes.
India is far behind in terms of the way Middle East is constructing. If you look at China, is again stagnated. They constructed last 20 years like mad, and now they are somewhere close to US, and they are rethinking what to do with those spaces. Southeast Asia is not constructing so much. Australia is not constructing so much. They are like India. They're constructing very, very selectively as per the opportunity. So each one of these countries are going through a different phase. The mall bad word is largely US, if you read most of the report. And two things to my mind which are driving that. One, most of it's the same thing that happened to us in Malad, that we were big boxes and large anchor spaces, is what happened to US. The whole retail real estate was driven by big boxes. And most of these big boxes have originated around World War II.
Correct.
So they have a legacy of 70, 80 years of brand, and they have to reinvent, 80-year-old brand in a department store, or in a furniture store, or an electronic store is no more relevant in e-commerce. So the tenant themselves are going through a churn, and that tenant is a very large part of the mall. So while consumer may be the same, the construct is changing there. So they are cutting down their department stores, bringing in gyms, bringing in food courts, and bringing in teaching centers and kid teaching center. Because what do? You created a 1 lakh square feet of box in 3 floors. It's not easy to cut. We did that in Hyderabad, and we know what it takes in a running mall and without COVID supporting us. So I think there's a construct change. If you look at India, we talk about Lucknow, where there's a huge amount of supply which has come in. It still is 2 square feet, less than 2 square feet a person.
Really?
Right? And here we are talking about one mall which is more than 1.5 million square feet, the other mall which is more than 1.2 million square feet, and there are 11 other malls around them. Right? And all of them are filled in, 60, 70% occupied. They're struggling, they're growing, but all of that is happening. All of that put together is still less than 2 square feet per living person in that city. And that's where you can measure the opportunity. So, I just wrote about it in LinkedIn some time back, that if we ignore 50% of the country, you have 700 million people. If you construct 2 square feet per 700 million square feet,
yes.
Just do the math. And the rate at which we are constructing in India, which is 4.5, 5 million square feet a year, it is 300 years to fill the today's demand. So
I read that note.
It's a crazy opportunity. We don't have enough money to construct. We don't have enough land to construct.
Rajendra, I'm going to come to you. I have sort of 2 specific questions. One coming in from Abhishek. You guys invested as well big time during COVID. I mean, whilst Abhishek was uplifting the malls, what you were doing was going out and buying new land, constructing, doing it. I mean, there would have been a lot of faith in saying is that retail real estate space is going to come back. I just want to understand what was going in your mind, and then I have 2 quick questions after that.
Good afternoon, everybody. COVID was, some people considered it as a pandemic, and some people consider it as an opportunity. An opportunity came because I think the whole world stopped. You had those first 4 weeks to think where you want to go, what you can achieve. And I think those 4 weeks, we did maximum work in those 4 weeks.
In the first 4 weeks.
First 4 weeks, when the whole world was enjoying,
Hooray,
we
we
actually
guys-
worked the maximum, doing and thinking about what next. Because I think it was an unprecedented a moment that people would have seen that the whole world is not doing anything. And during those times, we really felt that, whether it is 1928 depression or World War I or World War II or subprime crisis or whatever you come, everything comes back. It's only they come back in a different form and format. And that belief that we must move forward, we must take progressive steps. And that's how when we designed the new malls, we designed them a shade multiple above than what we have been doing. And that's when we felt that if today a consumer is going to come, he's going to expect something dramatically different. And unless we are ready with that, we tried to give something dramatically different. The 2 malls that we opened in COVID, we opened 1 mall in COVID wave 1. Nobody in the world has opened a mall in a COVID wave 1.
And you were opening it, I think, 3 or 4 days before the shutdown. Lucknow Mall was...
It was slated to open on, I still remember the dates, 14th March and 23rd March. On 13th, the government was thinking Bangalore Mall to shut down, Maharashtra malls to shut down. So on 14th, we took that decision 13th evening that we will not open the mall and delay the opening by 15 days. And by that time, 23rd evening, it was, the world had come to a standstill. But times were tough. But not only new malls, what Abhishek ji said was, we renovated our existing malls to a different level during that time. We must have, in our existing malls, we planned out to add approximately about 1 million square feet in all our additional malls put together. That was the thought which went into during that time.
My second question is, you are in tier 2, tier 1 cities, Rajendra. What is the sizing in a tier 2 which you think is optimal for a mall versus a tier 1?
I personally believe that tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 is a misnomer word altogether. I think globally, because of the technology, the customer of a tier 1 city and tier 2 city is equally exposed to everything that one can see. So what one would experience in Paris, he can easily see that in Indore. I think the aspirations of a consumer have reached that level everywhere. We believe that it should be more based on the ability of the financials of that city, whether they can afford to spend so much money in a mall or not. If that city has the ability to spend money, it is a tier 1 city for us. And we'll build a 1 million square foot mall there.
And Rajendra, you use the word technology, and it is a buzzword. Is technology really coming into these malls?
I think technology has become a part of your clothing. The way you can't walk in your home, outside your home, in your office, without clothes, you can't now dream your life without technology. It's there in your hand, in your palm, in your wrist, in your office, everywhere, technology. I think, and especially what has happened is in COVID, I think the rapidity with which it got entrenched into the life of humans, I think is dramatic. And you cannot remain untouched with technology. Today, my 82-year-old father uses a WhatsApp and a Facebook. Can you imagine that now?
Can you imagine? Yeah. Harshji, I'm going to come to you. Your group has been largely focused on NCR. And if you look at, how Abhishek has and Rajendra and now Inorbit have expanded, they've gone to different regions. Is there any specific reason that you have only wanted to stay in NCR?
Good afternoon. Before that, actually, I would want to compliment 2 things. One thing is today's event, as you said in the initial, that it's really a very nice management and event. Look at the sizes of the stalls. They all have
I
increased.
agree with you, yes.
And you see the presence of the brands and the people. So it shows that retail is coming back. There is no need of any discussion. When the size of the event is 100,000 and people have increased the stalls and number of people have, you can say presence is better. So it means that things are coming back and rather coming better. Secondly, you also mentioned about the REIT. I think this is the most positive thing about the retail because 5 years back we were discussing sale model, lease model, X model, and what
Actually,
next?
you're right. That is what we used to discuss.
What next? And before 5 years, we were saying that if the mall is successful, you're not selling it. What next? How will you develop more malls? If you are taking LRD, the LRD amount is very less, and if you are selling, it will be finished. And what should
I remember it's a very good thing is we never ever used to discuss this REIT, which is what is happening today.
so the kind of you can see the response, the lead getting this Nexus Select, and it's oversubscribed before it opened. It will give a very, very good message to the mall industry, retail industry. People now will have set goal. Okay, let us do hard work for 4 year, 5 year, 10 year, and then finally we can you can say dilute our stake to maybe even 4-5%. So that's another very, very positive thing about the retail mall industry. Now coming back to your question, so my answer is in 2-3 parts. The first is replied by Rajneesh that in US it is 28 square feet per person and in Lucknow is less than 2%. Then imagine the market of Delhi NCR. It's 40 million people now in Delhi NCR. Consumer pattern, consumer behavior is different. People are spending more money, more fashionable, more spending power. Then if you combine all the malls in Delhi NCR, it is less than 1 square feet. Maybe even less than 0.7 square feet per person. So Delhi NCR have lots of potential. If we increase the, I can say, retail area by 5 times or 10 times, still we have enough market for retail in Delhi NCR. It's growing like anything. Number 2, it's our first generation business. So it takes around 10, 20, 15, 20 years to establish business in your city. People know you, you know the law of the city, you know the, because in the end of the day, mall also is a real estate. So you should be aware about the local bylaw, law, how the departments approvals are needed. When you are mature, you are 15, 20-year-old, then you should go to the next city. So in the same series, we are now planning to go out and coming up a good mall in Mohali. Very
In
soon.
Mohali. Nice.
Yes, it's
nice.
opening this year only. And also planning some other malls in the nearby North zone only.
My second question is, Harshi, is that the retail formats seem to have been changing. We've heard earlier as well. Do you think that these are changing because of the tenant requirements? Are you seeing that the tenants are asking different things?
Of course, as Rajneesh or I think Shibu rightly said that the anchor box are shrinking now. Athleisure is increasing now. And you asked one question about the athleisure category. So during the COVID, people were relaxed in their home and they were used to, you can say, wear the relaxed clothes. So now I notice people going to office even in sports shoes, in t-shirts. So athleisure is now in. Everybody is comfortable in athleisure. So there is no need of formal shirts more. So earlier 5 days a week was the formal or 6 days a week was the formal. Now I think it's 2 or 3 days with the formal only. People are, you can say, wearing comfortable clothes during the weekdays even. Secondly, the CDIT. Now people are looking lots about buying lots stuff for their home. Like the TV sizes are increasing. You see the TV size. Now 14-inch TV size looks like iPad. Everybody is buying 55-inch, 65-inch, and sometimes you can't imagine the size even. The TV is so big. We normally go to home of the friends. So big TVs are there. So the consumer durables are, you can say, increasing a lot. And home, the category of home is increasing. Look at the number of home center and the H&M has opened the specific home store in Select. So the home is now a big category. So of course, the mall developer has to be flexible and has to be, you can say, designed. We have to be adjustable as per the current demand. So the demand is athleisure, CDIT, homes, big box are shrinking, supermarkets are shrinking, cinemas is shrinking. Now nobody is planning 10 screen or 9 screen. Now we are looking for 4 screen, 5 screen. Our new malls, we have reduced already from 10 screen to 6 screen, 5 screen to 3 screen, 10 screen to 5 screens.
And that's because what OTT is coming in.
That's
And
because of OTT, and the size of the cinema has also changed. Now, you are not looking for 10 screen, maybe 4 screen, but the size is big. So if some Universal Studio movie is there, Disney movie is there, or some South movie is there, people are coming in a big number, and then you need a 20-meter screen, or you can say big size screen. So larger than life. If the movie is just, you can say, smaller movie, normal movie, people are, you can say, want to see that in a home environment. But if the movie is a big budget,
correct, you're right.
you can say bigger size, then so the sizes are changing.
Pramod, I'm going to come to you. You're our only star sitting in here who has live projects going on in East, and East has a big population, and you've got Patna, Siliguri, Calcutta, Raipur. We just want to understand first is that market deep enough?
When we went to these markets, I'll give you one or two experience of these markets. You are aware, like when we opened City Center Siliguri, and when we were going for the fit out, there was no retailer. All the anchors simply backed out because they didn't know where Siliguri is. However, they had signed because the kind of exit barrier which used to exist at that point of time had no meaning. And when we opened this almost 1 million square feet development, the only brand which we opened on the first day was KFC. That's how we started. Now, why I'm saying about the journey, because this tier 2, tier 3, in even tier 4 cities like Haldia, when we moved 9, 10, 11 years ago, that time the journey was very difficult, because it was not in the radar of, scheme of things of all the big brands, all the retailers, all the decision makers did not know about this place. From there, we started the journey, and today I can say we have almost 12 to 13 anchors in that mall. And we have not only filled that space, we added 1.2 lakh square feet of one more block recently. And we are now further planning 1 million square feet of mall, which you mentioned about this 500 million new age of customers, because retail has also evolved. And what Rajnish was talking about, we had almost, that time we had more than 2 acres of Celebration Square. So where we used to do all kind of events. So the idea given to the team management, events management team was to any event which happens in that part of the country should happen in this location. All the auditorium, everything, every park, everything has to be replaced with our mall. And we finally succeeded in doing that. I can tell you more than 100 varieties of events which we did, starting from, because it is very close to Sikkim, we started with Orchid Festival. There are a lot of army people at the Army Day. There are a lot of dog lovers, then tea tourism. So we have organized large events, which now, these are all annual events now. Eco-tourism villages across from Nepal to Bhutan, and all these, and Sikkim, Darjeeling, all the places. Orange Festival. Now recently we organized Starter Festival in Patna. We're going to organize Lychee Festival in Patna, Mango. So when you are able to engage with customers, whatever customers need, if you are in their mind share, if you are being talked about, and the media was tied up extensively. So what happened, you became part of their life. And once we became part of their life, then a job was done, so every brand wanted to be in that place. This is what I can tell you. Yeah. Similarly, in Haldia, it's a very small place, because large industry was supposed to come to that location. It did not come. We had already planned our mall. In real estate, what happens, the moment you pour steel and cement, your option to exit is gone. You can't even sell the land. So we had to finish and do that. Similarly, in Raipur, we all know, the supply is the only thing which is constant there. Okay. So many malls. Every time you visit, you see one more new mall in that city. So every market has got different experience altogether.
Pramod, I'm going to ask you an intriguing question. Some of these malls, you have done strata title. Going forward, would you repeat that?
No, we have already stopped 5 years ago doing that, because we realized that, yes, to some extent we have been able to manage, control, and still run one of the most successful malls in the country with starter selling. However, going forward, you are not able to tap the real potential if you do starter selling.
Abhishek, आपके वहाँ सिर्फ strata ही होता है. NCR, I haven't really seen many good quality malls, other than just on the strata. So, how are they able to manage when Pramod is saying we've learned our lesson, that we're not wanting to do it, you don't do it.
See, of course, the value
Abhishek,
that,
you'll have to put the mic a little closer.
the value that you can derive out of a leased asset is much, much higher. One of our assets, which was one of the first center that we built in Ghaziabad, is a strata sold center. And the average rents over there are around that 100 rupees. Now, if I hadn't sold that asset and was with me, I'm sure it will be 200 plus today.
Wow.
So that is the difference that you bring on the table with a lease. But that was the model then. And you know, you couldn't have changed that. That was the way of raising money at that point in time. Banks didn't understand shopping centers. जब हम लेके जाते थे तो उनको समझ ही नहीं आता था कि अच्छा लीज करके आप रेंट से हमारा लोन पे करोगे. इतना मार्केट डेवलप्ड ही नहीं थी. So that was the only way to go.
Pramod, just coming back to you, would you continue in East or you think you're going to move out of East?
Currently, we feel that the kind of potential which we are seeing in every large cities in East, we have not even tapped that. So, but we are not averse to going to other part of the country depending on the opportunity. But currently we are focusing in East because the new malls which we are planning in Calcutta, Siliguri and other places, so it's mostly in East only.
You know the turnover of all the guys who are sitting in here, you know, per square foot revenue that the mall drives. Is East in the same ballpark?
No, but depends. Calcutta would be almost the same.
Same ballpark.
Even Patna, the kind of numbers which we are seeing is almost the same. I think it is more of a supply scenario which determines the TD in that city, specific city. Okay, like Raipur is, as a market is good, but there are so many malls, the TD goes down. Like in Calcutta, the TD is extremely good. Because as Rajnish mentioned, the kind of, I think in Calcutta, you have 5 to 6 million square feet of retail space, and the population is more than 10 million. So you can understand the kind of numbers, retail per capita we are talking about, the kind of scope which we see. So there is a lot of scope to add a lot of good retail asset. At the same time, aspiration can further be, exploited in that city.
And going forward, planning to do IPO, REIT, private equity?
Exploring all the possibilities, sir.
And Abhishek, Harsh, you as well? I know, some of these guys are already listed.
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment.
Unless we want to do like 5 centers in 5 years, yes. But right now we are doing like 1 a year, so that doesn't really require to raise that kind of money.
Of course, yes. Very soon when we are able to develop some more centers. But right now, as Abhishek mentioned earlier, the bank was not able to understand the, you can say, LRD concept. Now the banks are also becoming mature. We have one LRD arrangement with one bank called Axis Bank in our Vegas mall, where the average revenue sharing is also, you can say, they have considered.
Oh, really? Okay.
So we have around 27 brands which are pure revenue sharings. So this year, bank has told that they will consider the average revenue you got from the...
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah,
that is very nice. Very nice.
But that's a you can say, first step, I will say. The last step will be, as per the current scenario, will be REIT only. So, of course, it's a very positive move that REIT is oversubscribed and future is the REIT only.
Uddhav, I'm going to come to you. Your group has a huge amount of retail presence in Rajasthan. First, tell us a little bit about, the thoughts behind that and why only, I know you belong there, but why only to restrict yourself to Rajasthan?
So, hi.
Correct.
We built a large center in Udaipur, which is 1 million square feet, which has got about 4 lakh square feet of retail. And we started building this about 4 years back, a year or 2 years before COVID. And at that stage, why we went into Rajasthan, of course, was because we belong to that state and we know the market really well. And I had been wanting to enter this space for a long time. I'd done a lot of due diligence. And while it was unexplored, when I spoke to retailers, they were very wary about that state and about the city. It was like selling the city first than selling my project. I had to convince people to come to Udaipur and buy into that thought of coming to the city. But if you look at it otherwise, it's the largest state in India geographically. It's got Gujarat on one side, NCR on one side. A lot of industrial activity is happening in Rajasthan. Industrial environment is very good, which is leading to a lot of urbanization. So all the factors made sense, but it's just that nobody was doing it. So I saw an opportunity and jumped right in.
And Uddhav, what's the retailer's response been?
I think initially it was a little weak when we started leasing about 4 years back. But to tell you, like we just opened the center in January, we have a waiting list of at least 25, 30 brands. Mall is 100% leased.
Oh,
We
wow.
launched phase 2 leasing today, and I think from what I spoke to my team, around 20 brands have already confirmed phase 2 today, and a couple of large boxes. So if you build a world-class center, I don't see an opportunity, a challenge.
And average rental, Uday?
A mix between Anchor and Vanilla would be about $75.
$75. But you know, it is the same story. If you see what Pramod said, everywhere, whoever has gone into these tier 2, tier 3 towns, initially it was difficult to bring in the retailers. But once they become used to it, and once they start to see the trading density improve, you know, it has been beautiful. I have two quick questions for you. Is one, on the consumer feedback, you know, how's that response been?
No, very good. That's why you see the waiting list and the people wanting to come in, because the response has been very good.
And this is, the waiting list is largely F&B guys?
No, it's a mix of everything. It's a mix of everything. There's no category I can say which is not wanting to come. Of course, we've changed our mix a bit. We've got a lot more F&B, seeing what's happening around us. We've got more athleisure. We've got very limited office. But I see office wear is, of course, weaker. Like from what everybody's saying, that the trends are exactly same. When I hear Abhishek, Rajneesh, Pramod, the trends are exactly same. Athleisure is doing well.
I agree
F&B
with that.
is doing well. So.
I mean, one takeaway from this is it is absolutely the same. The trend is exactly the same. There's a lot of learning, you know, when you get into, you know, some of these tier 2, tier 3 and over a period of time. Go ahead.
The other thing I'm seeing is the premium brands are actually doing better than the value formats.
I was going to ask you, is premium there?
Absolutely. Premium is there. Whatever premium we have, because initially we didn't get that much premium, but now the demand is all premium, because the demand from customers is more premium, and the brands which are the value format brands aren't doing as well as we expected them to do.
And then what percentage of the total mall would be F&B?
We've got a floor about 1 lakh square feet. F&B includes one little bit of entertainment, so about 80,000 square feet.
F&B?
Yeah.
Not bad, yeah. Not bad. And lastly, did it have an impact on the high street? Did the high street sort of drop?
I mean, 100% it's had an, I don't know about the numbers, but we've become the first choice for any retailer coming into the city. That's what's happened. So suppose there is space in our mall, everybody wants to sign up here. If they don't get space, then they're looking at the high street. That's how it's impacted.
And Pramod, you saw that in Patna as well? Because you're really in the heart of the, you know, market.
Patna High Street, overall, if you really see, it is very well developed. But the kind of size Patna, if you look at the Patna market size, this mall is still nothing as compared to that. This Patna can take 2, 3 more malls, and I don't think it would have created as such an impact. But yes, we have become consumers' first choice.
First choice, which is exactly what Uday is saying. Rajneesh?
So, Anuj, if you see around 10 years back, when you were looking at these cities, which were counted in top 35 million plus population, they are all now 2 million plus. So over last 15 years, the decadal growth, they used to be seen as one-store cities by retailers. Now, if you see any of these 35, 40
Actually,
cities,
that's true, yes.
there are 6 to 7 stores for each brand. So it is no more a high street versus mall. It is like, if I am going there, I want to be in high street, I want to be in the suburban micro market of those city, as well as in the flagship store in the mall. So.
And you know, I was quite curious when Pramod was opening his second Siliguri mall. And I was like, Siliguri, you only opening the second one, will it not cannibalize? He said, no, all these retailers are wanting, you know, second, third, fourth, you know, retail store.
I think
There is one more logic, sorry.
I think the difference, Anuj, is, I'll give you a little bit of an example, is the mall store will probably be doing double the trading of a high street store.
They will
That
be
will be
doing
the
double.
difference. Yes. Most likely will doing double, if not 1.5 or 1.8 times. So that is the difference, because it's the preferred choice of the consumer.
So very simple logic. Like if you look at, if you conceptualize a mall, if you plan to do a mall, and by the time you make it operational, stabilized, at least you'll take 4 to 5 years. And if you look at the India GDP, if you look at the retail growth story and all that, and especially in mall, even if you consider 15% growth rate, in 5 years you need 100% additional capacity. So how do you say? If you don't serve, somebody else is going to serve it.
That's right, yeah. Shivu, you are wearing both the hats. Today you are wearing the shopping mall Lulu Group hat, but no, Lulu is also a very big occupier, a very big tenant in many of these malls. I want to understand from you is, and Abhishek touched a little bit on this, is which is on the mall design. Has that mall design evolved over a period of time? Are there any critical, aspects that have changed that you have seen over the last few years?
We clearly understood that parking is always and will remain a very crucial part. So we've ensured that more parking, the better. So what we've also done is that we've obviously gone basement. We normally do only one basement because we realize that consumers don't like to go down 2 times, 3 times. It's not good. But then obviously in some cities, the cost of land doesn't allow that. Otherwise, we also built MLCP and attached it to the mall so the consumers also drive into those flows automatically. So that's something which we create by design, and that's one thing. And that's the reason the parcel of land we anytime look at to buy for a mall is large enough. And second thing, we clearly understood that malls, if possible, should be built in ground plus 1 and 2. There, ground plus 1 is fashion, and second is completely for fun and entertainment and food court and cinema. And then obviously, we realized that the population, any tier 2, tier 3 city, the first choice is they want to have a good food destination and lot of food brands and restaurants. And restaurants actually are the game changer today in any place because they create the ambience also, and they're also one reason why, like you said, that there are, when fashion brands are getting sold in e-commerce, and when OTT is taking the cinema to the house. But food is something where people want an environment, where want an ambience. So the restaurants, so every mall of ours at least has around 15 restaurants, and larger in size, breweries 10,000 square feet in size. So these are, and then what happens is nowadays breweries and all these pubs need, added terrace area overlooking something. So these are some of these things which we have tried to understand. And now a bigger sense is happening that if you want to become a destination on your own, not depending on your brands or not depending on anything, you just want to become a destination by being that small, then you all need to have a larger social space where you can curate and have a lot of events happening, shows happening. People are ready to pay, we do this in Lucknow very often. People are ready to pay 10,000 rupees per seat or per table.
What are you saying?
For a table with drinks on the house.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So for a table where they come with a group of friends, drinks is on the house, they stand in front, they get a private, photograph with the star, and that's it. It's a packed 1,200 people. It's a packed 400 people packed. So these are events which are getting curated. They charge a bomb, but the whole show happens. There are people who run this. So now, if you want to do these activities, you need large centers, you need large spaces. So that's a design change we have tried doing it, because people compare, as that, we see this in Dubai, we see this in France. Now you obviously get it here also.
We've not touched it this afternoon. A topic that is going to become extremely important, and I want to pick it up with you, is sustainability. And, across the board we are seeing is, more so on the commercial development, Renish, that sustainability is a must. Are we starting to see that in the retail as well?
No, it is a must. You're talking about retail or mall?
Retail, both. Retail
so
and
in the
mall.
mall, it is a must. Obviously, what happens here is every drop of water, it's very difficult to get. So every drop of water you consume, if you can recycle and reuse it, and that's what we use. If you can able to at least take, of the power you consume, if you can use, carbon-free power, solar powered power, that's sustainable because it saves a lot of money for you.
And Shibu, are mall developers doing it? Because I can tell you on office developers, they are absolutely doing it.
We are doing it in a big way. We are investing in it in a big way and doing it also. That's the future. Otherwise, we can't become sustainable with respect to the rising cost of, common area and everything. It's not feasible for us.
It's a delight to see that, because clearly on residential, it's not happening. On office, it's happening, Renish, because the office occupier, the tenant, is forcing you to do it. I don't know in the malls who's forcing you to do it.
So a large part of this is governed by environment
regulations.
Regulations. So your water treatment, most of the malls which are designed in recent times or last decade will have a zero water
Office
waste.
guys are going beyond regulation.
But the regulations are the same. Office is going beyond regulation because they don't create the kind of wet waste or the only thing they generate differently is an electronic waste, and there are norms to dispose of that. But I think all malls are using green energy as much as is allowed by the state regulations, allowed possible on the terraces with solar power and all. So
In the
Rajendra-
last 1 year, Anuj, we have installed close to 2 megawatts of only solar power for our shopping centers.
For the malls?
Yeah.
Ah,
And the Tagore Garden Mall that we have is now platinum rated.
mall is platinum rated. Okay, I wasn't aware of that.
So,
we-
so I'm telling you, this ESG is becoming a. There are a lot of investors in the world who are not willing to invest if you are not ESG compliant.
You're right.
In India, SEBI has started. You have to produce certain documents which are related to ESG if you are a listed company.
Yes.
And you don't have a choice.
I will add a few things. We are also having one platinum mall in Delhi, that is Unity One Rohini, the first platinum mall of the city. The second it is economics. The mall electricity is much costlier than the residential. So if I put solar plant in a residential, it takes 15 years to you can
Recover
say,
the cost.
recover. But if I put in a mall, it takes 5 years only.
Yeah, very good
because the
point.
electricity of the mall is 14 rupees per unit, and in resi it is 4.5. Similarly, the water. The water supply in a mall is 230 rupees per KL, and in residential it is 60 rupees per KL. So it is ideally, you can say, wise to invest money on sustainability in mall. And thirdly, you have, you can say, scarcity of the things also. You can't get good, I can say, water supply and electricity in the mall, and that's why it's your requirement.
Shivu, my
also-
last question.
And also, just to add to it, is that there's around 4 tons of garbage which we generate. And if, the city can't take it, because obviously you know that how good, bad the city administration is. So then you always do things to,
And
convert it.
similarly, the cooling towers. In the Regi, there is no central air conditioned, so water is not used as much as. But in the malls, 50% of the water consumption is the cooling tower only. So the cooling tower is recycled water.
Shivu, just a quick one. You're sort of very large in the Middle East. I mean, you go to Abu Dhabi, Dubai, you're very, very large in there. And you have become very large in India as well.
And the latest is we're entering Australia.
Australia? Oh my God. Okay. Just one difference that you would say is between, working or operating your stores in more mature markets versus India.
So, it's very easy to operate there. There's no one coming and
Mall owners are very easy there.
not mall owners, because most of the time the properties are owned by us, or the mall owners have a defined times. But then most of the properties we operate is our own. But then the point is that the policies don't, give you a lot of heartbreaks. But in India, what happens is these are heartbreaks are there, and something you want to do it in 2 years doesn't happen in 2 years' time. I know, and that is a fight. Obviously, retailers question us, and then and that fight is on in India, and it's in a big way.
Well, we have had a great time. Sorry, we're just out of time. It is interesting. Retail real estate seems to be doing pretty well. As Mr. Harsh Bansal said, is that previously the funding was really LRD or strata. Today, there is a new section that has opened up, which is the REIT. Tier 2 towns really are very deep markets, and these are markets that will grow. And this is really the heart of the subject, is that if you have to catch the next 500 million population, then you will have to go to the Visakhs and Siliguris and Udaipurs and Dehraduns of the world. Tenant mix, Rinish, as you rightly said, is from where it was about 10 years ago to what it is now has really changed. That the departmental stores, I think there's a so that is interesting. And then clearly F&B has become a big part of it, and design is a big part of it. So with a big round of applause to our panelists, it is fantastic time for the retail and for the retail real estate. Thank you very much. Yes.